And you look at the bottom third is the left profits from pushing racial divide. Where's the example of anybody profiting from this? I mean, the very least, if it is a New York Times story, which I imagine it's a New York Times story somewhere, but the notion that they're even profiting from this story is ridiculous because it's not some major headline. It's not some huge story the New York Times is pushing. I scrolled through days of their stories and couldn't find it. And so who's profiting from this other than One America News Network? Got a One America News video queued up next. It's called How the Left Pushes Racial Divide with Darren Beattie. I haven't watched it. We're gonna watch that fucking garbage together, fam, and deconstruct what a pile of lies and fascist propaganda garbage it really is. So that's what I got queued up next.
It can be said that in any human relationship, and indeed among other mammals, one person is constantly maneuvering to imply that he is in a superior position to the other person in the relationship. This superior position does not necessarily mean superior in social status or economic position. Many servants are masters of putting their employers one down.
Yeah. Fucking man, it's the bastard, dude. Okay, so this video is called, what was the gross title they gave it? How the Left Pushes Racial Divide with Darren Beattie. Do I got the volume up? I do. So here we go.
We have this major news outlet, the New York Times, throwing its weight around to try and destroy this teenager's life, a sacrifice on the altar of wokeness in many ways. Now, I've given my thoughts on the purpose of this piece behind it, but I'd like to get your take on it.
What? Okay, hold on a second. So they just start out cold talking about some teenager from some article whose life they're trying to destroy. Okay. Hopefully they'll provide context for that. Let's see. Is there something in the description? No. Tired of censorship from other social media platforms? Okay. So, all right. Let's get back to it. See what the fuck they're babbling about.
Well, I think it's remarkable as it is outrageous. I mean, as you laid out the details of the case, here's a girl who's having her life destroyed, or at least an attempt on her life, for the crime of having, when she was 15 years old, used a slur. Now, the context of her use of the slur is interesting and noteworthy. She was singing a rap song of the sort that's promoted and celebrated in a ubiquitous fashion in our culture. So she had the temerity to sing along to the type of song that's promoted everywhere in America's popular culture. And she was a Black Lives Matter supporter. There are so many different bizarre dimensions to this. And one of her erstwhile friends had this video recording of her using this slur, singing along in a rap song when she was 15 years old. And that was sufficient to create such an uproar that she was booted out of her cheer team. She was disinvited from university, which had accepted her. And now the New York Times, once the nation's paper of record, now clearly a joke that's digging so far deep into the trash bin that they have nothing better to report than a story of some unknown 15-year-old girl who used a slur once when she was 15. It's like, it's really...
Okay, so I'm getting the feel for this. So clearly this is something that's like, let's just say for the sake of argument, okay, that these two people are framing even the New York Times piece correctly. Now, that's not to say that the New York Times is some fucking trusted outlet that leftists should even be giving a shit about, let alone trusting in. But I suspect, fam, that these two scumbags aren't even portraying the framing of this story by the New York Times correctly. But for the sake of argument, let's say they are. What they've found is a community full of people who would have overreacted to a youngster singing lyrics in a song. And using what I'm assuming would have been the N-word, which let's just be real clear. I mean, if you're a kid, you should still know better, but you know, kids have growing to do by definition, right? But you don't record videos of you singing the N-word in your favorite fucking hip hop shit. Like, just don't even do it. We're not allowed. If you look like me, or you don't, or you know, if you're even a Latinx comrade out there, don't sing that lyric. Don't make videos of yourself doing it. And now, I've never seen evidence of any type of even liberal centrist institutions attacking people for what this type of scenario would have been. That's why I imagine that maybe, again, these people aren't framing it correctly. I mean, should we go look for the piece? They don't even fucking link it. These journalists, right? I mean, I don't... But so the framing is that this random kid went through all this shit. So that means what? That's the same thing. That is why we should let Trump and a bunch of Nazi ass fucking genocidal fucking tyrannical pieces of shit say whatever they want in our social media spaces. Even if she was not accepted into college because she sang a stupid lyric and you know, made a mistake in that way. Even if that is true, which I doubt, it's not indicative of, see, it's some type of conspiracy. And that's why they stopped this orange-ass fascist that instigated a bunch of his fucking followers to pull some fucking dollar store coup attempt. It's not the same thing. It's just not. And if this community did do this to this kid just because they sang a lyric, fuck them, man. Fuck them. That's not something I subscribe to or would jump on board with. And it also doesn't mean that she's kicked off Twitter. Doesn't, right? Anyway, let's see if they got more.
The story is in itself a kind of bonfire of the vanities, if any of your viewers know that reference. And I doubt they do. There's so many angles, but it really just underscores how deeply unserious our country is. First of all, that she wasn't even using the word in a malicious context. But secondly, what kind of country are we that operates on a hierarchy of taboos in which using one word is elevated above being a murderer, being a...
What? So that's a huge leap. Did you see that? Who said that she's worse than a murderer? Who said that? Sounds like a community was like, whoa, you did some inappropriate shit and we weren't down for it. And they kind of maybe overreacted. Again, for the sake of argument that he's even framing that correctly. We should probably go look at the fucking piece and try and find it. But how is that indicative of she's worse than a murderer now? What a fucking bullshit straw man.
Being a traitor, all these negative things, it seems like using one word or stepping on racial sensitivities, our entire country goes into convulsions.
It does it?
Over backwards in order to adhere to these crazy and insane racial sensitivities.
Crazy and insane racial insensitivities. So it's crazy and insane to go, whoa, hey, you use the N-word and I don't appreciate that. I got to find this piece. Let's go. Go here. That's right. We duck, go. He said New York Times, right? We'll just see. This must be a recent. This video is actually kind of a few days old, so it may not be their most recent piece. A year of coronavirus devastation, Biden official warnings, prospect of pardons. I answered the call of my president, rioters say. Navalny arrested, Kamala Harris, Wake history, Phil Spector died. Yeah, gives a shit. God, I don't see, I mean... So whatever this story is, fuck, look, fam, look how far I'm scrolling through and I haven't found anything that looks anything remotely like what they're talking about. So it's this deep buried thing that may or may not even be a fucking New York Times story. Social media posts lead to arrest of New York man for role. Family reaches 3-point milestone. More than nothing. I really wanted to see if we're framing it correctly, right? Like, okay. How convenient that you can't even bother to find the fucking... They don't tell you the name of the story. They don't provide a link in their fucking description to the story. Unbelievable. All right. Pudnard, let's see what you got here.
It's the markings of a country that's fundamentally unserious.
It never ends either.
It never ends either.
Enough because this poor girl, Groves, she also was a BLM supporter back when the whole George Floyd situation first broke out in late May.
Okay, and like, there you go. They always make that thing too. Like, there's even a BLM supporter. You can support BLM and then have said some stupid shit to have the community go, yo, that's inappropriate. Which, again, I'm thinking that's the only thing that happened. Was she, like, received some backlash? Or it was more than her just singing along with a song. I have to... to have it mean that you don't get accepted into a college is... It just... You don't sing along with a rap song in a video and then get fucking kicked out of college for that. Or unaccepted into a college. That's not a thing that happens. So I'm going to venture to say that whoever this, I'm kind of starting to think might be an imaginary person for an imaginary article. But I think this imaginary person probably, if they do exist, did something a little more than sing along to a song. And guess what? If she, it's like, it's not a team. It's not like, oh, you shared a BLM hashtag, so we're now in agreement on everything in the whole world and our politics are completely aligned. You know, the right wing gets so mad when we fit them accurately into their various fucking bubbles and echo chambers, right? But they constantly they do that to us. They literally, like, there is so much complexity on the spectrum of the left, from centrist liberal to actual leftists, and in real leftists, differences between different types of leftists. And just because you, like, supported BLM is not a license. No one on that spectrum, in any part of that community, is going to be like, oh, you supported BLM once, so we're just going to let you act like a shithead, without addressing it or confronting it. But no. This imaginary person shared a BLM thing once, so we're all on the same team. So now we're all hypocrites. You see what major leaps they have to go to? It's so fucking...
Posting online, saying to go out there and to mobilize, to march, and to protest, and yet she started getting all these flooding of all these comments.
And you look at the bottom third is the left profits from pushing racial divide. Where's the example of anybody profiting from this? I mean, at the very least, if it is a New York Times story, which I imagine it's a New York Times story somewhere, but the notion that they're even profiting from this story is ridiculous because it's not some major headline. It's not some huge story the New York Times is pushing. I scrolled through days of their stories and couldn't find it. And so who's profiting from this other than One America News Network? And, you know, this is so telling about their audience because they don't even need to provide the framework. You know, us on the left, we need to see the New York Times story. We at least need to see a clip or see the headline to know, one, okay, yeah, there is a story that this person, if it's even from people that we trust on the left, it's like, let me see the source you're talking about so that I can maybe go check it later myself if I want to. Because even if it's a leftist commenting on the story, we might, as other leftists, disagree with that particular leftist narrative. We would never get away with being like, the New York Times did a thing, but their audience doesn't care. No one that is a regular viewer of One American News Network is going to run out and double check the New York Times to see if what they're telling us is accurate. They're going to go, yeah. All those liberals that are in cahoots the Nancy Pelosi Bidens that are in cahoots with the Antifas and all the, communists that Biden is being influenced by, they're all doing this thing to this young girl. It's all the same thing. And did you see they hit freaking Orange Twitler off of the tweeters because what? What did he do? Practices free speech and isms and then his followers, all they did was murder the cops they've been pretending to worship for the last 5 years. What? See the left profiting somehow.
Another interesting angle in its own right. Now, on one hand, we can say, oh, look, she's a Black Lives Matter supporter, which adds to the evidence that she didn't use the term maliciously, and in that sense kind of helps her case. That's certainly one angle, but I think another angle we can take on this is to note that... No,
hold on. See, how do we know she's a Black Lives Matter supporter, and what level of support? The dude that... shot some politicians a few years back that they talk about is Antifa, basically because he shared a couple posts on Facebook in support of Bernie Sanders. That was, see, Bernie Sanders supporter, unhinged, crazy, insane Bernie Sanders supporter shoots politicians. Antifa is the real violence. There's no connection between all that. Some anti-fascists supported Biden. A lot of anti-fascists, the most of them really never fucking trusted that dude. A lot of anti-fascists didn't trust him, let alone were because you shared a couple Facebook posts, you're Bernie Sanders, which makes you Antifa, which means Antifa kills politicians. What is the level of support that this person had? Did they share a hashtag once? Because I got news for you, man. There's a lot of people out there that do have fucking... I've seen full-on people that are straight up racist to be like, I think Black lives should matter. There's a lot of fucking white separatists out there that don't want necessarily to do genocide, but they want to force Black people to live in different places from them. They might even support or share a BLM hashtag. That's not the same as getting out and putting your fucking body on the line between a fucking, a black trans woman and some Nazi that's trying to stab her with a pole. Big fucking difference in levels of support, yo.
Being a Black Lives Matter supporter does not inoculate you from this virus.
This virus of what? Having a problem with racist fucking language. I mean, that's at the root of whatever this story is something to do with her uttering something racially insensitive. Now, if we want to say that if that's all she did was sing a lyric to a song and posted video of it, and she was literally not allowed into a college or kicked off her, high school team or whatever, that's inappropriate. I wouldn't support that type of fucking response to that at all. At all. And I don't know any fucking leftist comrade that would be like, whoa, 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 whoa. The first step is you go to them and you be like, hey, what you said was inappropriate and insensitive to people who have been, abused and oppressed by fucking this disgusting ass white supremacist fucking patriarchal America caca. Maybe do better next time. I've heard leftists say that kind of shit to people. And then generally the person goes, oh shit, I didn't even think about it. My bad. But then if they double down, it's like, why are they doubling down? And then the community's going to double down. But if they go, oh shit, man, my bad, everyone's going to be like, no worries, yo. It's all good. Like, just don't do it again and be more sensitive to it. Maybe learn a little more, or maybe just don't talk for a little while. Like, it's not some broad systemic thing where we're massively insensitive. It's, the right is the one that has fucking hardcore inner fights and inner turmoils over purity tests. Straight up.
If anything, associating with the woke mobs increases the probability dramatically that they will destroy you. And so I think for young people, if you're a young white person, you think that doing Black Lives Matter, it doesn't matter. What matters is basically that you're white and therefore you're vulnerable to this bizarre racial hierarchy
You're white and therefore vulnerable to this. So there's them framing Black Lives Matter as a whole as being out to attack white people. Because some kid did or may not have said something racially insensitive, and this kid's community may or may not have overreacted to it. And this kid apparently has some type of loose, unenunciated or unarticulated connection to or support of Black Lives Matter. And so now Black Lives Matter is out to get white people. Fucking bullshit. One does not give way to the other. Straight up.
Constructed by our corrupt ruling class in order to exert their control. And you can't get out of it simply by following the fashions and fads. And as this poor girl learned the hard way. And so it's really just an illustration that there's no appeasing the mob. So you might as well stand up to them.
There's no appeasing the mob. So you might as well stand up to them.
It's Champions first
like what? Mob. A mob. God, man. I think I seriously want to play this here Germs record. But you see, fam, how, like, one, they don't provide you the link or even the name of the story they're talking about. So you're unable, essentially, to go and verify the veracity of their claims for yourself. One, for starters. Two, I think we're going to play two songs. Speaking of two, What We Do is Secret and, of course, Communist Eyes. All right, come on. But so first they can't, they don't provide you the context that you need and to go test the veracity of your claims yourself. Then they make some pretty harsh claims that I don't find reminiscent of anything I've ever experienced in a number of different leftist spaces. I've just never heard of anyone ever actually being having their acceptance in a university fucking rescinded because they sang along with a rap song in a video as a minor, like a 17-year-old kid. Like maybe if you're an adult, like well into your 20s or 30s, and you did something and it was inappropriate, maybe but it would have to be in context with a lot of other behaviors. Just never heard of this. So there's, so it's these wild, exaggerated claims of overstep in community response. And again, if, for the sake of argument, that was all true, though, I would deeply criticize the community that would have responded in that way. And but I just don't think that's the case, right? And like, then the third part is, okay, so she supports BLM, and they'll even attack her. Who's BLM? Like, they said that the university and the high school like didn't let her on the team anymore, and a university rescinded their acceptance of her. BLM is not a high school sports team or a university. That's not BLM. Okay? So it's making, this is this age-old John Birch Society fucking fear-mongering garbage of, it's like, no, there's always a deeper, more nefarious fucking thing going on. It's always a plot. It's never what they say. And it's behind academia and the intelligentsia. All the universities are awash with this thing that you have to be afraid of. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? Universities are being led around by the nose by BLM? Are you fucking kidding me? That's just bullshit. If that was the case, there wouldn't be a need for the fucking hashtag and the statement and the declaration of Black Lives Matter. They actually had anything approaching that type of power. But that's Black Lives Matter, and it's mobs. It's mobs now. What mob? What mob? A high school fucking sports team and a college fucking unacceptance that may or may not have happened. And then now, because BLM somehow is the one behind all of that and did that to her, that means BLM is out to get white people. That's what this motherfucker said. Out to get white people, man. I mean, not word for word, but in no uncertain terms. And so anyone that speaks out against or confronts racially insensitive fucking language is somehow out to get white people. It's disgusting. It's fascism. It's racism. I mean, makes me want to listen to the Germs, dude. Maybe look at some fucking art video. Communist eyes.
Come